Hey, what's up, everybody? Jimmy Smith doing my post-fight breakdown. Darren Till versus Robert Whittaker on ESPN. Let's see how my picks did all the way through. Not a bad night, but some interesting stuff to talk about. We start at the bottom of the main card. Khamzat Chimaev versus Reese McKee. Now, this was not on the main card picks that I did because I wasn't quite sure where the main card started. I saw a few different lists of how many fights would be on the main card, so I didn't include this one. But I did do a gambling show a few days before, and somebody had brought this fight up and said, man, who's going to win? And I said, put your house on Chimaev. Put your house on him. He is going to win this fight, and he's going to win it easily, and he did. No strikes landed. In his two fights in the UFC on Fight Island, he has outlanded opponents 181-2. So he's just blown away his last two opponents, obviously within 10 days. A lot of people ask me what's next for him. Fringe, top 15 guy, 10 to 15, I think, especially with the momentum he has and the eyes that are on him. I think an interesting fight would be Neil Magny, although Neil Magny's committed to a different fight already against Jeff Neal. Maybe, I'm trying to think, 10 to 15, who would work well. I don't know if Robbie Lawler would be interested in this fight, but that would be interesting. Damian Maia is on the list. Vicente Luque, but I think Damian Maia might be the most interesting tactical choice. And both guys seem interested in that fight. There's been a little back and forth on social media about it. We'll see if that happens, but incredibly impressive performance for him, no doubt in that fight. Alex Oliveira, Peter Sobata. Sobata just looked lost the entire time. I picked him to win this fight. I thought we'd get his power punching going at some point, and that kind of wide open style of Cowboy would play against him. Cowboy just threw kicks from the outside, and Sobata seemed to have no idea how to deal with that. None at all. And so he's kind of waiting the whole time and didn't get behind his jab, wasn't aggressive, didn't throw combinations. Yeah, there were a couple of fouls in the fight. I didn't think they were a major factor. And he just never got his offense going. It was completely one-sided by Cowboy. Did not expect that. I didn't expect Sobata to be that passive. Oh, for anybody watching this wondering about my left eye, I got a thumb in the eye in jiu-jitsu doing some drills, and so I got a thumb in my eye, so that's healing up slowly. I don't realize it because it doesn't hurt, but then I see myself on camera and it's really red. Anyway, so that pick went south. So Sobata losing to Alex Oliveira, wipeout, unanimous decision. Paul Craig by submission over Antigulov. This is what I picked to happen. So Paul Craig was my pick. Thought he might get it done probably by submission. He gets it done with a triangle choke in the first round. Ate some punches to do it. But Paul Craig is going to be a problem for a lot of guys because he's big, he's strong, 6'4", so he's no chump in the stand-up game. And then his submission game is exceptional, especially for his weight class, where there are not a lot of great submission guys. So Paul Craig's going to be a problem, especially if he can figure out some technical issues on the feet. He's a little awkward. He stands really tall. He kind of hangs his chin out a little bit. So he's got some issues he needs to clean up if he's going to take on elite strikers. But his ground game's good again, obviously an excellent finisher. So he beats Antigulov in the first round. I picked Paul Craig to win, so I went 1-1 with the first two fights. Carlos Esparza over Marina Rodriguez. I got to say, in the first round, I picked Carlos Esparza to win by decision. And I thought for sure she was going to lose this fight. For sure. She got beat up on the feet. Her eye was a mess. Marina Rodriguez was looking good, accurate, powerful. And now once an accurate fighter has a target to work on, which was the eye, I was like, oh, it's going to be a long night for Carlos Esparza. She ends up coming back in the next two rounds, out-wrestling Marina Rodriguez and winning a split decision. Very close fight. But one of the things that confused me is going for leg locks in top position when you're doing well with your ground and pound is weird. And also, she went for a footlock against the fence. You can't finish a footlock if you can't extend your back all the way. So doing it against the fence is a complete waste of time. She got stuck against the fence, couldn't extend for the footlock, and lost top position. So bad tactical decisions. She did the same thing in round two. She went for a footlock. It wasn't against the fence, but once again, giving up top position for a footlock in these situations, I think, was insane, and it almost cost her the fight, in my opinion. But close decision, and this is one of those where judging a fight as a whole and judging it round by round, this is a perfect example of one fight going the way it did because of the round scoring system. Marina Rodriguez did more damage in that first round than Carlos Esparza did the whole rest of the fight. But she had enough control to win rounds. And so she won the last two rounds based on that wrestling and top control. But if you judge it as a whole, like, oh, who won the fight? Probably Marina Rodriguez. But they don't judge the fight as a whole. They judge it on rounds, and Carla Esparza won that. So a lot of people upset about the decision, but I see why it went that way. She did have good control in the last couple of rounds, but Marina Rodriguez overall did more damage. But anyway, that pick went well, just as I expected. Carla Esparza wins by decision. Fabricio Werdum, Alexander Gustafsson. All right, so I picked Gustafsson to win this initially, and I stuck with the pick, and then I saw him weigh in, and I got that feeling when I saw him weigh in, because he just looked thicker but not stronger. He didn't look shredded enough that I was like, okay, man, he really put on muscle at heavyweight. He's really going to do something here. He just looked kind of bigger. Now, he's never been the most jacked up guy in the world, but I thought moving to heavyweight, that's an opportunity to put on more muscle and show the fans and the critics that you're taking this fight seriously. Because my worry was that whenever anybody moves up to heavyweight, that they just don't have to make weight anymore. That it's just, I can do what I've been doing and not have to worry with these cuts and take on bigger, slower guys, and maybe he wouldn't take it as seriously. Now, I don't know if that was the case in the fight, but because he didn't look bad. It was just he tried out some strikes, wasn't doing poorly with it, but Fabricio Werdum, as soon as he got him to the ground, this was done. And Fabricio Werdum, of course, I don't need to explain his grappling credentials, former jiu-jitsu world champion, really incredible submission game. But as soon as he got him down, it was hooks in, he escaped the back, and then went for that armbar, had him on his back, and as soon as he rolled forward and he was on his back defending the armbar, this was over. Fabricio Werdum was never going to let you out of that position, ever. And so as soon as it went to the ground, it was all done. So Gustafsson just didn't show me the physical tools at a heavyweight that are going to make him exceptional. He might call it a career after this. I don't know. But if you can't beat a faded Fabricio Werdum, and I love Fabricio Werdum, but he's seriously faded in his last couple fights. This isn't the guy who upset Fedor, who beat Cain Velasquez. This isn't the same guy. This is a much slower version of that guy. And if you can't beat him at heavyweight, you're not going to be a top 10 guy. I don't see what the point is for Gus going up to heavyweight just to be another heavyweight. So we'll see what he does. Fabricio Werdum gets a little life in him. The heavyweight division in the UFC, is one of the few divisions where older fighters have a pretty good shelf life, where guys like Andrei Arlovsky, Fabricio Werdum can still fight for a long time. Alistair Overeem can just keep doing it and do it and do it and do it and still get paid and still have excellent fights and still be up kind of amongst the elite, meaning top 10. That's where Fabricio Werdum is. He's not what he used to be, but he can still do damage from the ranks of 7 to 15. So there's still a place for him. He can still get it back on track. Will he be a contender again? I don't think so. It's going to be more tough heavyweights and entertaining stuff, but heavyweights get paid a lot. So I think he's going to stay in the division and see what he can do. Does he get to elite status? Probably not, but he's still entertaining. And it's good to see him get the win. So I went 2-2 up to this point, but I finished strong. Mauricio Hua against Little Nog. Mauricio Hua won the third one. A lot of people thought Nogueira won this fight. I remember thinking when they were reading the decision that Nogueira won it. Hua wins the third one. He's won all three of the trilogy. Afterward, Nogueira retires. I think that's a good call. I don't know what else Nogueira can possibly hope to accomplish in this weight class in the UFC. His best days are behind him. I don't want to see him take any more punishment, even though he didn't take a whole lot in this fight. There's no need for it now. Hua is kind of in the same position. From what I've heard, he wants to have another couple fights. He didn't want to retire with no crowd there and that kind of thing. All right, but we don't know when that's going to be. And this division's an absolute meat grinder, and I don't want to see Mauricio Shogun Hua have to endure a lot of beatings from young fighters before he calls it a career. So is there room for him? Yeah, you could say so, but it's not like heavyweight, where an older fighter like Fabricio Werdum in the last fight can stay in there and kind of, just make money and have fights and finish out his career with some cash. Mauricio Hua at light heavyweight, there are a lot of murderers at light heavyweight that would love to trade off of his name. So can he get another couple more? Yeah, I don't want to see him fight a whole lot more. I think it's a good job, a good decision by Little Nog to retire. I think Hua's not going to be far behind him. But anyway, Mauricio Hua wins a contested split decision. And so that leads me to the main event. I picked Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker won, defeated Darren Till. he was just able to, and as I said when I broke this fight down, Darren Till needs to get inside, needs to find a way to attack Robert Whittaker without getting caught in space, because Robert Whittaker likes these leaping attacks. He explodes. He covers distance very, very well. He's a hard puncher. Can Darren Till get inside and really get his game going in that medium range space? And he did in the first round, but after that he had a lot of trouble with it. Robert Whittaker committing a lot to his punches, closing distance very quickly, knocked him down in round 2. Excellent ground and pound. Went for the occasional takedown. It wasn't a huge factor in the fight. But Darren Till, after round 1, I didn't see him solving that range puzzle. He didn't stay behind the jab as well as he could have. He did dart in with the occasional power shot, but I would like to see him throw more combinations and some feints, some stuff to get Robert Whittaker off balance so he'd get inside and use his punching power. Wasn't really able to do that much. Robert Whittaker controlled the distance and range and made it his fight. Close, but 2 out of 3 judges had it tied going into the 5th round and gave Robert Whittaker the 5th round, which I think he deserved. The issue moving forward is Robert Whittaker is probably next in line for a title shot. What last night showed isn't just that he can compete with elite fighters, but, this fight trended very, very well. A lot of people were talking about it, got a lot of buzz, and numbers I'm sure are going to be good. Robert Whittaker can still sell, right? He can still put asses in seats, metaphorically speaking. I know there's no crowd, but he can get people interested in the fight. So let's say Israel Adesanya beats Paulo Costa, which is no easy feat, in September. Robert Whittaker will probably be next in a rematch. The problem is, what I saw in this fight was a guy taking a lot of risks at medium distance. He kind of exploded in with these big winging punches that were super duper wide that worked against Darren Till. I don't see that working against Israel Adesanya. He's got to add more tricks to his game in order to beat a really excellent counterpuncher in Israel Adesanya. He has to throw more feints, has to fake takedowns better, leg kicks from the outside, little things to kind of open that door so when he explodes in, he doesn't eat a right hand, which is what happened in the first fight. He just ate power punches trying to clear distance. The guy I saw taking on Darren Till was just depending on his explosiveness and the power of his hands to keep Darren Till at bay. What I mean by that is when you explode with the right hand, your opponent has to worry about the shot, and that's how you can clear distance. Adesanya is not going to shell up. He's going to slip and rip. He's going to angle and throw big punches in return. So I want to see Robert Whittaker add a little bit more to his toolkit before he takes on Israel Adesanya. The good news is the Costa fight is in September. They, at best, wouldn't fight until January of next year, let's say. So he has time to add those tricks, but he needs to do that. The things that worked against Darren Till, I don't see working against Israel Adesanya. Did Darren Till take a huge step back? No. Minor step back. He's still very, very relevant at 185 pounds. Israel Adesanya tweeted out that he'd love to fight Till. I think that was more a shot at Robert Whittaker than it is, an invitation to Darren Till. But he's a factor at 185. He's going to be a factor for a while. I don't think that kid's going away. Little step back, no big deal. Fans like him. UFC likes him. I don't think it's going to kill his career at all. So I think he's still going to be a factor at 185. And let's face it, gets a few wins, he could be right up there in title contention again. So that's how it went. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-2. I went 4-2 on the main card, missed the Alex Oliveira fight and the Werdum fight, and I hit all the rest of them. So anyway, appreciate you guys, and I'll give you another breakdown before the next fight.